Hey, Algebra 1, we are starting inequalities. So today our objective is to read inequality symbols and statements. So let's go ahead and go to that first page. It says interpreting inequalities at the top. Well, what's amazing is we have this beautiful chart that gives us a breakdown of what every symbol means. So we've got the less than symbol, we've got the greater than symbol, and we have less than or equal to and greater than or equal to. What I want you guys to notice is that equal to, which I'm sure you guys have seen before, but that line under the inequality sign means equal to. So anything, greater than or equal to, let's say 1. That could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for example. So these are all of the symbols that we're going to be using throughout this unit. Okay, and one way to think of inequalities is as kind of as a Pac-Man. So if you see down here, I have a little Pac-Man set up for us to look at, and it has the two numbers 5 and -2. Well, our inequality Pac-Man always wants to eat the bigger number. So in this case, our Pac-Man's eating the 5. So it's saying 5 is greater than -2 because that Pac-Man's eating that 5. Below, I have a couple more examples for us. So I have, 100 is less than 200. I have 12 is greater than 10. I have 13 is greater than or equal to 13. And I've got 16 is less than or equal to 32. So as I was talking about the equal to sign, this is a true statement right here, because it can be equal to because it has that line under that inequality sign. Okay, so in this next section, let's go ahead and fill in some for ourselves. Let's, show them how we know this stuff. So I've got 4 and I have 5. So I need to figure out which way my inequality is going to face. Well, like I said before, our inequality always wants to eat the bigger number. So we're going to have 4 is less than 5. Because the inequality wants to eat 5 because it's the bigger number. Then I have 17 and 12. Well, 17 is bigger than 12, so that 17 is greater than 12. So the inequality wants to eat the 17. Then I've got -3 and -10. So a lot of people jump to this problem and think, oh, okay, well, -10 or 10 is a bigger number than 3. Well, not necessarily, because it's negatives. It's the opposite effect, because -3 is greater than -10. So our inequality wants to eat that -3. Then I have 1/2 and I have 1/3. I know not all of you are awesome with fractions, but remember 1/2 is bigger than 1/3. So I'm going to put the greater than symbol. And keep in mind, you can add an equal to on any of these. So maybe I'll make that last one greater than or equal to. Okay? So in my next section, I'm looking at writing the inequalities given the description. Well, if I have x is less than 5, and I want to write that as an inequality, I'm always going to start with my x. And then again, I can just go ahead and write my 5, and now I have to fill in my inequality sign. Well, if x is less than 5, that means 5 is that bigger number, meaning the Pac-Man wants to eat the 5. So it's going to head on to my 5. And let's refresh back into one of the first things we did this year was interval notation. Okay, so when we did interval notation, we know we would have, the numbers and kind of the boundaries of what's being used. So remember, that's the parentheses and brackets. Well, if it's x is greater than 5, 5 is the max that it can be. Okay, and the minimum it could be would be -infinity. So there's our two numbers. Now let's figure out if it's parentheses or brackets. Well, remember, any single time it's with a infinity sign, that's going to be a parenthesis. Okay, and one thing, if it has the equal to, that means it has a bracket. But if it doesn't have the equal to, it has a parenthesis. So in this problem, there is no equal to, so it's just a parenthesis. So there's it written in interval notation. Now let's do that same process for the next one. I have n is less than or equal to 15. So I have n as my variable. I have 15 as my number. Well, now let's figure out my inequality symbol. So n is less than or equal to 15. So that means 15 is bigger. It's going to be eating my 15, and it has that equal to. So because it has that line. Well, let's go ahead and write that in interval notation too. So again, we're going to have 15, which is the max it can be. So our minimum will be our negative infinity. Well, infinity is always parentheses, but this time it does have that equal to. So because it has that equal to, we're going to have a bracket. All right, the next three just wants us to write it in words. So let's go for it. So if I have x is bigger than 5, so I'm going to write that x is greater than 5. So that's how I would write that one. My next one, I have x and I have 3, and you can see that the inequality sign is eating that 3, and it has a line under it. So x is less than or equal to 3. Because I have my x, I have my 3, and this is the less than symbol. Less than or equal to symbol, excuse me. Okay, and then my last one, I've got x, I have negative 2. I see that my inequality is eating my negative 2. So I've got x is greater than, and it has that line under it, so greater than or equal to negative 2. Because that x is eating the x, or the inequality is eating the x and not the negative 2. Okay, so this is pretty much what sums up the basics of inequalities. If you can, read the symbols, you can interpret what it's saying, and you can fill in a symbol. So I remember on your pretest you had, the speed of a cheetah, and you had the speed of a turtle. Well, which one's greater? Well, obviously the speed of the cheetah is bigger than the speed of the turtle. Okay? Well, let's look at this next page. Here's our fun page for today. This is our fun page. So what I want you guys to do on this page is tell me which is bigger. Fill in those possible inequality signs. Okay? And then once you're finished with that, it's a little fun. And they're adorable little pictures. Go ahead and do your worksheet. If you have any questions, let us know. And be sure to cross off this booklet for the first video because you did it. Okay, thanks. Bye.